It's the bridge of familiarity. I'm going to flip this on you because so far what we've really been talking about is reacting to change. Change comes to us, but that's not entirely the case because also you are all creators of change, every one of you. You introduce new ideas to the marketplace. You introduce new ideas to your clients. You introduce new ideas to your team. And I will tell you the mistake that we all, as innovators, as drivers of change, make, which is that we understand the value of some new thing that we have created or been involved in. We understand its value so well that we forget that it may make absolutely no sense to the person that we're talking to. And we need to find a way to help them understand and appreciate and see that value. And it's not going to come from us just explaining it over and over again. So what do you do instead? Well, let me tell you a quick story from history. So this is an early car. They didn't really use that term back then. You know what they used? They called it a horseless carriage, and that's if they were being generous. Otherwise, if they weren't being generous, they called it a devil wagon because they hated this thing. In the 1800s, people threw rocks at these things. They drove down, if you drove down the street in Miami, Florida in one of those things, somebody would stand on the sidewalk and they would yell, "Get a horse," at you. That is true. There's a real thing that happened. For decades, you can find these in all these old newspapers. Get a horse. This comes from the Pittsburgh Press, 1904. If ever you should chance to meet on rural road or city street one of those horseless carriages, the proper salutation is, "Get a horse." Now, the question is, how did we go from throwing rocks at the devil wagon and yelling, "Get a horse," to the car being the dominant mode of transportation globally? How did that happen? The answer, people often say, is Henry Ford. Henry Ford revolutionized manufacturing, and therefore he made Ford cars more accessible and affordable to the average person. And that's true, but it actually leaves out an important step before that Henry Ford is the beneficiary of, and that's this. In the early days of the car industry, the car manufacturers were trying to understand this problem. Why do people not like this thing? And they came to a realization. The realization was that they had been marketing it, and I heard this from a car historian. They'd been marketing the car as a replacement to your horse. But you know what? They were saying, get rid of Dobbin. Dobbin is a generic name for a horse, like a spot for a dog. These are the advertisements in the paper at the time. Get rid of Dobbin and get this car. But the thing is, people liked their horse. Their horse was a member of the family. The horse had been in their family for generations. And now here come the late 1800s versions of Silicon Valley tech bros telling them to get rid of their horse and get this new thing. You idiots with your old stuff, get the new stuff. People hated that. You know why? Because people don't like new things. You know what they like? They like better versions of old things. That's what they like. And so the car industry made a change. They stopped talking about the car as a replacement to the horse, and they started to talk about the car as a better horse. They started to popularize terms like horsepower. They started to name cars after horses, which is something we still do today, Bronco, Mustang. They started to put mechanical horse heads on the front of cars, which we don't do today, but you get the idea. People aren't stupid. They understood that a car and a horse are different things, but this gave them a way to understand where this fits into their lives, and it also helped them see that these car manufacturers understand them and where they're coming from. I like to call this the bridge of familiarity. What you're doing is you're starting to build a bridge that comes not from you and the thing that you have to them, but rather the other way around, where you start with the consumer and what they're familiar with and what they're comfortable with, and you build a bridge from them to you.